Hey, what's up everyone? Todd Castline here. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? We're about to get in my head on why I gave away $600. That's pretty much what we're gonna talk about. Why'd I do it? Hey, if you're new to my channel, Todd Castline here. I fish just about everything. I fish the Opens. I fish the Toyota Series. I fish the Tour. I qualified for the Elites. I fish team events. I fish BFLs. I fish weekend series. Bass Champs, Texas Team Trails. Man, I probably fished more tournaments than almost anyone in the country over the last 10 or 15 years. So I fish a lot. I always look at things really different, guys. I always try to take in every account. I try to really look at everything from a financial standpoint to opportunity standpoint to sponsor standpoint to everything. So this is just giving guys maybe a different perspective on why I fish certain tournaments and why I wouldn't. If y'all guys know me, I fished the Opens last year. I was trying to qualify for the Elites. I qualified for the Elites a couple years ago in 2009. I didn't have the money. I was pretty young. I had a 10-year-old boat. I had a 10-year-old vehicle, and it just wasn't in the cards, right? So I turned down the invitation. The next year, I won a boat. Okay, and I think it was the third boat I had won, and I was able to get a new boat, and I was able to do pretty good in tournaments. I bought a new truck, and by the next year, I'd fished the Toyota Series and won Angler of the Year, won a big tournament, won a Toyota Series on Toledo, and I was in a better, opportunity to fish the Elites, but I had to go qualify again. I would do both. I would fish Toyota Series and Opens. And I did them based on solely one thing. I wasn't really concerned about trying to make the tour at the time, and I really wasn't trying to make the Elites. If I did, great. If not, no big deal. What I looked at was money. I looked at fishing in a way of how can I keep fishing and make money at the same time. That's where I still to this day look at things, right? That's where most of these professionals look at it too. They look at what trail they want to go fish, which one's going to pay them more, if they can make more money, is it better for their sponsors? There's a lot that goes into this. First off, I gotta throw this out there. I wasn't raised with a silver spoon in my mouth. I didn't own my first boat, brand new boat, till I was 30 years old. Like I said, we had won a new boat. That was my third one I had won, and it was a big enough boat for me to keep. The other ones were big, yes, they were big bass boats, but I was still gonna have to pay a lot of money for upgrades and things like that. We had won a championship and won a 21-foot Legend. And so it was a good boat, it was a big boat, it was a boat that I could actually go fish tournaments with. So I say all that because a lot of guys always ask me, hey, how come you don't go fish this tour, this tour, this tour? And a lot of these kids I look at, they're like 21, 22 years old, straight out of college, never had a job, and they're driving $50,000 to $60,000 bass boats with $50,000 vehicles. Well, I didn't have any of that till I was in my 30s. And so it's a very loaded question, right? I didn't have someone giving me money to just go fish. So I solely looked at tournaments on what's the entry fee, how much can I win, how much will I spend, okay? And to this day, I'm sorry, I can't get that out of my head. I still always look at that. I always look at all these tournaments on what they're paying out, how much am I gonna make, what am I gonna lose, does it make sense? Like, I know it can maybe qualify me to the Elites, but if that doesn't happen, because anything can happen, like last year, I didn't have a boat pretty much the entire half the year. I was borrowing boats. It was very hard. It's not an excuse by any means, but you can be having the best tournament of your life and break down and miss weigh-in, right? It can happen. It's happened to me. It's happened to a lot of people. So anything can happen. It's not a foregone conclusion that you're going to always win. This is bass fishing. Everyone knows this. So I look at it from that perspective. So last year in the Opens, I like Bassmaster. Like I think that's it's a good avenue, and I was trying to make it. But in the end, it to travel that much and be away from my family and do all these things, man, I missed a lot of other local tournaments where I'd make money, and the payout's not that great. I know there's a chance to go to the Classic and to make the elites, but not very many people did that. So that's always got to be in the back of your mind. The Toyotas, on the other hand, you know, there are some usually regionally closer to certain people. You know, like they're closer to me, and I don't have to travel as far. This year was going to be the same thing. Now I was going to have to fish more opens. I was going to have to go fish 9 of them, and they were spread out way across the country. And I think there was only one, if I could say it was close, the closest one to me was 7 hours away on Grant. They put 2 of them in Alabama in my division, and Alabama's 9 hours away. I mean, it's 3 states away. So I wouldn't really consider that local. I can fish a local tournament with the same amount of entry fee that pays out more on my home lake on Rayburn on one of the same weekends. And I'm sitting here going, man, like at some point in time, you got to sit back and go, it's still about kind of making money in the long run, right? It's still about making money. So with everything that happened this year, when the season started out, I wasn't going to fish all the opens. It's just too much. It's too much traveling. It's too much time away from my family for no, I mean, even if I made paychecks, like even if you finish 20th, that paycheck, you basically still lose money by how far I have to travel and all the expenses. So it's a lose. I'm going to lose money almost on every single event, even if I get a paycheck on all 9 events. So that's not something that I just can't wait to sign up for. That's not like, hey, where do I sign up for that awesome opportunity, right? It's not a knock. It's with every tournament trail. Like, you've got to look at it to what's the smartest way to make money. But I was still going to go fish 3 of the opens. Still going to go travel with Andrew and Hallman and do all that. And then I was going Toyota Series. They ended up putting one on Rayburn, one on Texoma, one on Rayburn. But then they added in this new deal where it was like if you fish 4 of them, they would take your highest 3 events and have this wild card. And I'm like, oh, that's right up my alley. I can not fish the one on Rayburn. I can fish the Bassmaster Open on Pickwick because they're on the same weekends. I'll figure out another Toyota Series to get in. And this was all to make the championship, which does pay out a lot for the Toyota Series, like a lot. So, and I missed it last year because I didn't fish the Toyota Series, all of them. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, this will work. No big deal. Well, then at Texoma, they canceled Smith Lake. So now I'm sitting here going, okay, and I was always wondering in the back of my head, if I do really good in the first 2 Toyota Series, and I'm in contention for Angler of the Year, what's that going to do? Well, I did pretty good in the first 2. And I bring up Angler of the Year because of this. I've got 3 Angler of the Years in the Toyota Series. I'm pretty sure, to my knowledge, I only know of one other person that has 2. But maybe someone else does have 2. And I think one of the Johnson brothers has 3. Fishing the Northern Division, I'm not sure. Someone had told me that, but I'm pretty sure. So if someone does, maybe I was tied with one of the Johnson brothers, with the only person ever to have 3 Angler of the Years. The last time I fished 2 years ago, all the Toyota Series, I came in second. So I've got 3 first and then a second. And I'm like, man, well, I was in 4th place in Angler of the Year going back to my home lake. And I called up Hallman and I was like, Hallman, man, what? I got this dilemma, man. I know I'm supposed to fish Pickwick with y'all, but man, I've got my home lake. It's in a time I like to catch them. I'm 4th in the points. I could win Angler of the Year. You know, like, what do you think? And he's like, Todd, it's a no-brainer. Like, fish it. And I really I didn't know what he was going to say. I wasn't expecting that, but he's like, you got to. So I talked it over and I was like, I got to try for this Angler of the Year deal. I got to try for my 4th one. Like, I can't sleep at night knowing that I gave that opportunity away. So I had already paid my deposits for Pickwick. and I think it was $600. And so I had to call them up and say, hey, I'm not fishing. So I lost that $600 and then had to pay the entry fee for the Toyota. And of course, I say all this going, well, I thought about, you talked about money and stuff. Well, you're right, but I'm not traveling anymore. It's on my home lake. I have a pretty good track record, and I'm going for something that's not 3 tournaments away. And what I mean by that is the Opens. I still hadn't fished my first Open yet. So I might finish 100th at Pickwick, and I still don't qualify for the elites. But I'm 1 tournament away from maybe making Angler of the Year. I'm in 4th place. I'm 1 point behind 3rd, very few behind 2nd. I was quite a few behind 1st, who was Jeff Reynolds, who's a good buddy of mine, and Jeff catches him. So Jeff was the guy I was pretty nervous about. And me and him, we've had some battles before, man. He's got me on a BFL regional on Texoma, where he finished 1st and I finished 2nd when we both made the All-American. We had the first Texas team trail we ever fished. They were, I think, right up there in Anglers of the Year, if not leading it. We were right behind them, and we battled it out that year. So we've crossed paths a bunch, which is cool. We both like that competition. But I was like, man, I got to try this. So I did. And what ended up happening, now listen, it's great to say this afterwards, but it is what it is. I ended up finishing 4th in the event. I ended up getting Angler of the Year. 4th place paid about $9,000. Angler of the Year paid another $5,000. I qualified for the championship. It was a pretty awesome weekend, to say the least. I don't know how I would have done on Pickwick. Maybe I would have won. Maybe I would have gone to the Classic, and maybe I would set myself up to make the elites. Maybe, like, what ifs, right? I don't look back on that. I'm not the only guy with 4 Angler of the Years. That's a big deal to me. It's really something I know how hard that is to try to accomplish, and I'm proud of that. So, but why I'm making this video is everyone's asking me, like, why I look at things or how I look at things, right? Why do I choose certain tournaments, or I can't believe you're not fishing all the Opens. Well, that's why, guys. I mean, it's very hard to go do that when you're having to shell it out on your own, that kind of money. And the money doesn't always make sense, right? If you add it up, it doesn't make sense sometimes to travel halfway across the country to fish a tournament with not as great of a payout as you could do one in your own backyard or places that are close. It's just something I'll look at. I'll look at them next year when I go fish the Opens again. When I look at the Toyota Series, their schedule. Like, I will always look at those schedules and look at things and figure out what I want to go fish. Yes, the end goal is maybe to fish the elites. I qualified for the tour again. I have not made a single decision or even thought about if I would fish it. A lot can happen in the next 6 months before I have to decide. But it's an option. I always keep my options open. But that's why I chose it. It was, I guess, a risk either way. I think my risk turned out okay. I'm pretty proud with my decision. Like I said, I prayed about it a little bit and left it up in his hands, and he kind of pointed me in that direction. And how's that not a win, right? So I wanted to share that with y'all. I want y'all, a lot of guys, like I said, it's very easy sometimes on the outside to go, why aren't you doing this? And I'm like, man, if someone wants to pay my way to do some of that, I'm all in, right? But it's not like that for everyone. And like I said, I'm gonna look at every dollar and make sure it makes sense, because I don't have that kind of money to just be throwing around out there to go do stuff that doesn't make very good sense on paper, right? Business wise, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's what I got. I'm still gonna fish the last 2 Opens, the rescheduled one on Smith and then the one on Grand. Still gonna fish those, and now I get to go fish the Toyota Series Championship. I still got some more team stuff. Like right now, we just ended the Texas Team Trail, the regular series. We got the championship left. But in the midst of all that, I wasn't planning on fishing all those events. But since the scheduling got messed up, it gave me more opportunity to fish those. We just got back-to-back checks this past weekend. This might not come out at the same time, but we're also leading, me and my buddy Jason, who I do a lot of videos with, we are now leading Angler of the Year in the Texas Team Trail. I have 2 Angler of the Years in the Texas Team Trail. I've got a second, and I actually have almost another one. It doesn't count, but we were leading Angler of the Year going into the final event by like an enormous amount. And I was fishing the All-American. It was the same All-American that I talked about me and Jeff Reynolds qualifying for. Me and Jeff both missed that championship. We were on Wilson Lake in Alabama, and I made the final day. And there, my buddy Russell was not allowed to fish the event. So it kind of feels like we left that one on the table. It worked out good for me. I finished 4th at the All-American and stuff, but it sucks because I left Russell hanging. They're not allowed to fish by himself in that event. So the championship, we weren't allowed to fish. All we needed to do was catch like a limit in 2 days on Toledo, and we win Angler of the Year. So, yeah, me and Jason are gonna go try to win another Angler of the Year, hopefully in a couple weeks, in the Texas Team Trail, and maybe win a boat if we can get 1st or 2nd on Whitney. But that's it. That's the plans right now. Just wanted to give y'all a heads up as to why I chose to fish the Toyota Series over the Opens, and why I will continually look at those things, try to look at them in a smart way, not just go off of necessarily this is what I have to do. Man, guys, you got choices. Try to make a smart choice. Put a pen and paper to it, right? See if it makes sense before you just go out there getting in it. We still have some control in fishing, guys, like the fishermen do. You can still control what makes the smartest sense. Look at these trails. Look at the incentives. Look at what makes sense on paper. I mean, do your homework, guys. It'll make some of these trails step up, and maybe better payouts, better percentages, better all these things. If we just keep on getting in, to trails that don't make sense, they're not the ones getting worked over. It's us. So anyways, keep that in mind, guys. It's always something more to look at. I'm never going to claim that I'm the smartest, but I will at least give a pretty good argument for a reason why I did something. But anyways, hope this helps. I don't know. I hope it helps. There's nothing positive or negative on any of these things. I'm just telling y'all guys, really study this stuff, man. I mean, there's a lot on the line for you guys on doing these things. And a lot of guys just want to qualify for the elites, and money is not an option. They don't care about, any of that stuff. And I get that. But that's not all of us, guys. A lot of us can't do that. So I'm kind of looking at the other guys that it's a struggle. It's a struggle getting that money every week to go fish. I was there for years and years and years, and I still look at it that way. I mean, in college, man, I used to, don't do this, guys. Don't do this. But I used to take my rent money before rent and go gamble it on fishing. It worked out. I don't recommend it. I'll never want to do that again. Like, I never want to do that. Like, I look back at those days going, I can't believe I did that. But I mean, that was the struggle I used to go through to fish a weekend tournament. It just is what it is. So like I said, I mean, I can't ever get past that. I can't ever get past that. That still stays with me. And so I'll always look at tournaments to the day I die like that. It's not always about a trophy. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But man, I win a trophy. I want to win a paycheck too, right? So anyways, that's it, guys. Hope this helps. Anyways, let me know what y'all think. See y'all.